Alien 3, the sequel that dared to kill your hope, stomp on your favorite characters, and remind you that in space, no one can hear you scream. Welcome back to the channel. We're currently deep into the Alien franchise, and today we're talking about what I consider to be the franchise's most frustrating entry, Alien 3. Now before I go full critic here, let me say this. Yes, I get that some people defend this movie. I've heard the arguments. It's bold, it's philosophical, it's the true ending of Ripley's arc. And look, I can respect that perspective, but for me, Alien 3 is where the wheels came off. This was the moment where the series took all the goodwill it built up from Alien and Aliens and flushed it into the depths of a grim prison planet. The ideas were there, some of them anyways, but the execution, the tone, and the atmosphere, it just didn't land for me. This is easily my least favorite Alien movie, and today I'm going to walk you through exactly why. Let's start with the setup, and honestly, the opening already puts the film on a losing track. Alien 3 begins with what might be the worst retcon in movie history. Remember how Aliens ended? Ripley finally survived. She had a surrogate family in Hicks, Newt, and even Bishop. That hopeful ending? Gone. In the first 5 minutes of Alien 3, Newt and Hicks are dead, Bishop is mangled beyond use, and Ripley crash lands alone on a remote penal colony known as Fiorina 161, or Fury for short. Now the idea of setting the movie in a prison colony filled with violent reformed convicts, that could work. There's a certain gritty, raw potential in that kind of setting. You've got this population of men who've isolated themselves, many of whom have turned to religion to cope with the past. That dynamic could create tension, conflict, and even redemption. But instead of exploring any of that in depth, the film buries it under a mountain of nihilism. Everyone is miserable, every conversation is either whispered in shadows or barked in anger. No one has any chemistry with anyone else, and the film never gives us anyone to really care about besides Ripley. And Ripley herself, Sigourney Weaver is as strong as ever. Don't get me wrong, she's fully committed here, but she's written into a corner. She spends most of the movie either mourning or slowly deteriorating. There's none of the fire from Aliens, none of the resilience from Alien. She's broken, infected, and resigned. It's hard to watch a character we've rooted for this long be stripped down to someone who's just waiting to die. Now let's talk about the creature. The movie introduces a new variant, nicknamed the Runner, that's born from a dog or an ox depending on whether you're watching the theatrical cut or the assembly cut. I actually love the idea. The alien inherits traits from its host. There's some real classic sci-fi horror potential right there. But again, the execution kills it. The Runner xenomorph is brought to life using some very early and very bad CGI. I'm not exaggerating when I say the digital alien looks like a cutscene from a Nintendo 64 game. It doesn't move right, it doesn't blend into the live action scenes, and it completely undermines the creature's threat. Where the original Alien used shadows and suggestion to build tension, and Aliens use sheer numbers and movement to create chaos, Alien 3 tries to split the difference and ends up with nothing. You can see everything, and yet you feel nothing. The tension is gone, there's no suspense, no dread, just a weird looking monster running through a boiler room while the camera shakes and the lighting flickers.
Nobody ever gave me nothing. So I say, fuck that thing. Let's fight it.
The film also fails to deliver on the action. The prisoners, armed with nothing but torches, courage, and yelling,
"And you have no weapons of any kind?"
try to trap the alien in a series of convoluted hallways and tunnels. It's meant to be a cat and mouse survival scenario, but the geography is so confusing and the characters so indistinct that it ends up just becoming noise. You're never entirely sure where people are, who's getting killed, or why you should really care. And let's address the tone, because Alien 3 is famously bleak. And I mean bleak. This is a movie where hope dies early and stays buried. It opens with loss and ends with self-sacrifice. The color palette is nothing but rust, grease, and shadow. The soundtrack is mournful and minimal. The script feels like it's been filtered through a graduate thesis on existential despair. Now, I'm not against darkness in movies. Alien was dark. Aliens had its horror too. But they balanced it. There were glimmers of hope, heroism, or even just good storytelling. Alien 3 feels like it's actively punishing the viewer for caring about the previous films. There's no arc, no growth, no victory. Just a long, slow march to oblivion. Even the ending, where Ripley chooses to fall into a furnace to stop the xenomorph queen inside her from being harvested by the evil Weyland-Yutani Corporation, that could be powerful. It should be the culmination of her arc. But by that point, it just feels inevitable. The movie hasn't earned our emotional investment. It hasn't built up any stakes beyond everyone dies. So instead of feeling earned, it just feels depressing. So were there any good moments? Yes, I won't lie, there are some glimmers. For one, Charles S. Dutton gives a solid performance as Dylan, the spiritual leader among the prisoners. He's one of the only characters with a clear motivation and personality. His dynamic with Ripley adds a layer of tension and begrudging respect that the movie could have used more of. Also, the production design is strong. The prison is oppressive and textured. You feel the cold metal, the claustrophobia, the hopelessness. It's ugly, but it feels real. And again, Sigourney Weaver deserves praise. Even when the script gives her little to do, she brings that internal fire. Her scenes where she discovers she's infected and then chooses her fate, that's powerful stuff. And it only works because she sells it with total commitment.
When they first heard about this thing, it was crew expendable. The next time they sent in Marines, they were expendable too. What makes you think they're gonna care about a bunch of lifers who found God at the ass end of space?
But these moments are fleeting. Flashes of potential in a film that never quite comes together. So where do I land on Alien 3? Honestly, it's a mess. A beautifully shot, sometimes interesting, but ultimately misguided mess. The death of beloved characters, the incoherent pacing, the lifeless supporting cast, the jarring CGI, it all adds up to an experience that feels more like an endurance test than a thrilling continuation of the franchise. I know David Fincher had a nightmare production on this film, studio interference, unfinished scripts, constant rewrites. He's even disowned the theatrical cut. And while I can appreciate the effort in the assembly cut, which is definitely better in some respects, it still doesn't fix the core issues. The tone, the bleakness, and the lack of tension. To me, Alien 3 is the cinematic equivalent of a eulogy. Slow, sorrowful, and obsessed with death. And while there's a place for that in storytelling, it doesn't belong here. Not like this. Not after what came before. So yeah, this is easily my least favorite Alien film. It's not unwatchable, but it's certainly not enjoyable. Let me know in the comments. Am I being too harsh? Did you find more to appreciate in this one than I did? Or were you just as let down? Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because we're not done yet. Next up is Alien Resurrection, where the franchise takes an even weirder turn. And trust me, we're gonna have some fun with that one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.